Hiya, Angie here. Now, it has been a while since I've made a video. I have been laid up for about over a month following doctor's orders, and the only thing that I could really do was watch TV. So I did a full immersion into watching romantic movies because that's my jam. I love romantic movies, and Hallmark, they are among my favorites. And seeing as this past month I have watched so many, I thought, why not share it with you? Now, although it is a movie, and we know that it's not real life, but there are real life lessons that we can learn from these films. And I want to talk about that too. So if you're interested, and if you want to know more, and if you want to join me as I go really deep into The Reluctant Royal by Hallmark, then you know what to do. Don't go anywhere. Now, our leading man is played by Andrew Walker, and I have to say that Andrew Walker is one of my favorite Hallmark leading men. I mean, he's very charming and he has a little bit of a swagger about him. And in this film, The Reluctant Royal, he plays Johnny Payne. Now, Johnny Payne is a mechanic from Philadelphia. He's very good with his hands. He's a down-to-earth kind of man, kind of a meat and potatoes kind of guy. But we learn straight away that he's a bit of a commitment phobe because one of his girlfriends, well, his current girlfriend, visits him at his garage, and she starts asking him uncomfortable questions like, where are we going to go from here? Where do you think this relationship is going? And he's like, He's obviously not ready to have that discussion. She realizes it and she says, you know what, I'm out. And she leaves. But as she leaves, her car just happens to break down. But our mechanic, Johnny, who's so good with his hands, in a couple of seconds, he's able to fix it. And she drives off into the sunset. Now, the next person that we're going to meet is the Duke of Glassage. Now, I have to say that although the title is called The Reluctant Royal, dukes are not royals. They are noble. They are aristocrats, but they are not royal. But that's just the by and by. Now, our good Duke William, he has a little bit of ill health. He's tired of all the obligations that being a duke comes with. So he's ready to retire. He's ready to say, you know what, I'm done. I've done what I was supposed to do. I'm ready to leave now. But for him to retire, he has to give his title to his closest relative. And his closest relative happens to be his cousin Alistair. Now we meet Prudence. She is our leading lady, and she is played by Emily DeRavin. So Prudence, who is the Duke's assistant, she takes care of him very well. She does not agree for Alistair to be the next Duke. She doesn't like him at all because she believes he's a title chaser. All he wants to have is the name and the pomp and the glory, but he's not really a nice person. But the Duke insists he has to pass down his title, and the only way for them to thrive and to carry on is with new blood. So that's what he wants to do. Now, while Prudence, the Duke's assistant, while she's going through his important documents, she comes across a wedding certificate and sees that the Duke was once married. And then she finds out that not only was he once married, but he also had a son. And guess who the son is? You've got it. It's our leading man, Johnny Payne. Prudence is over the moon and she runs and tells the Duke straight away. And the Duke informs her that she has to go and tell Johnny because he wants Johnny to come to the kingdom. So Prudence, as fast as her little feet can take her, flies all the way to Philadelphia to meet our leading man, Johnny Payne. Now, when she gets there, she finds him in a bar. And we will find Johnny quite often in a bar throughout this film. And he's doing karaoke and he's singing and he's having a good time. She walks in and she goes up to him and she says, can I talk to you? He says, of course. And she says, well, and she explains to him that the Duke of Glassage wants him to come to the castle because he wants to give him the title of Duke, because he wants to retire and he is next in line. Now, of course, Johnny thinks that she's absolutely crazy. Him, a Duke, going to England, castles, crazy stuff, right? Now, it took him a bit of time to believe. He thought that she was playing a prank on him. How could anybody think that he could be a Duke? He did not believe it. But then he started getting angry and he thought, well, where has my father been all this time for 38, 39 years? Not a word, nothing. And now he's just summoning me like that. I ain't going to no castle. I ain't going to no England. So poor Prudence has to walk away because Johnny refuses. Now Johnny goes home and he tells his mum, why on earth would I want to go there to a man who abandoned you and abandoned me? And his mum says, well, you know what, Johnny? It's not exactly like that. We were very much in love. He came into the bar every single night to listen to me. And we just fell in love. And we fell in love and we eloped. But his family insisted that he come back to his title. And he was weak and he gave in. And so she said that I got the marriage annulled. And she wrote to him to inform him of everything, to inform him also that she was pregnant and that she was carrying his child. But unfortunately, she never heard back. Now Johnny arrives at the castle and he's this loud, cocky American, and he refuses to be anything else but himself. And it just so happens that the town folk really like him. They rally round and they're very supportive towards Johnny. Now Johnny finally meets his father, but unfortunately it does not go well. His father thinks that, well, basically he's just there for the money. And of course, Johnny is offended by this. And he says, I don't need this. I don't need to be here for you to insult me and say that I'm just here for the money. I'm out. And so Johnny decides to leave and go back home to good old Philadelphia. Now, of course, if that was to happen, that would be the end of the movie, right? So we know that he's really not going to leave. So while he's on his way home, he stops off at a watering hole where all the locals stop off to have a drink. And that's where Prudence finds him. And she tells him that his father wants him to stay for the rest of the week, at least up until the ball, because they're going to have this fancy ball. Now, in every single film, nearly every film that I've seen where there are royals or aristocrats or whatever, there's always a ball. Is that what they do? Every so often, some fancy ball? I don't know. But anyway, I digress, right? So she says that he has to stay until the end of the ball. And he says, no, he's going. So Prudence says, okay, well, let's do this. I will challenge you to a game of darts. If you win, you go home. But if I win, you stay. So they play darts. Johnny goes first. And he's pretty good. He does pretty well. But then Prudence takes the darts in her hands and without even looking, ding, 3 bullseyes. Well, she looked for 2 and the third one, she didn't look. She was like a champion or something. So because of this now, thankfully, our leading man, Johnny, stays. And it's at this point, finally, it took a while to get there. We see that Prudence feels something for Johnny by the way she looks at him and stuff, but nothing crazy, right? Prudence then goes on to tell Johnny that her parents died when she was 8 years old, and the Duke took her in and sent her to all the best schools. And for her, in order to fit in, she changed a little bit. And she said she did that because she would rather them look up at her than look down at her. And this is where the best line in the entire movie comes. And Johnny says, "Why don't they just look at you? I look at you, not up, not down, just at you." Goose pimples, right? Now we can't forget Alistair the cousin, because Alistair the cousin is out for blood. He cannot stand Johnny, because how dare this American come and steal what's rightfully his, the title of Duke of Glassage, right? So he's prepared to do anything, and he is backed up by his mother, who's a terrible, horrible woman, and the two of them are scheming and doing whatever they can behind our leading man's back. How dare they? They have to go. But anyway, Alistair, he challenges Johnny to go horse riding. Now he knows full well that man don't know how to ride no horse. And that's why he did it, so that he can embarrass poor Johnny. But Johnny, he has his pride, and no way is he going to back down to who? To Alistair? I don't think so. So he says, okay. So he gets up on his horse, and he does pretty well. He's riding. It just so happens, though, that Alistair has a little mishap while out riding. And someone has to go and save him. And I'm not going to tell you who goes and saves him. Try and guess. Now we're at the part in the movie which is in nearly every romantic movie, the part where they're going somewhere and they're all dressed up and the leading lady is all made up and done up and dollied up, and the guy looks around and he says, "Ooh, you look beautiful." Now I have to say, and I have to be honest, she didn't. I'm being truthful. She looked the same to me. She looked the same to me as she always did. I didn't think that the dress was particularly nice. It wasn't particularly fancy. She just looked normal. Johnny, on the other hand, in his, I don't know, what do you call that? Is it like, it's that suit? It's not a tux. Is it an evening suit? I don't know what it is, but he looked pretty cute in it with his white shirt with no tie, but he looked really, really cute. Now, Johnny, of course, is still of the idea of going home. He's only there because he lost the bet, but he has no interest in being the Duke. But they're at a dinner, and Alistair decides to embarrass him in front of everyone, makes him look small. So Johnny says, "Okay, I see you. I've decided, I accept. I will be the next Duke of Glassage." And as you can imagine, Alistair was mad. He wasn't happy at all. Neither was his mother. But who cares about her, right? Now Prudence teaches Johnny how to dance. The ballroom dancing and all that kind of stuff. And it is here, for the first time, after all of this, that we actually see that they have a moment, the both of them, while they're dancing. And their faces almost touch. But there are staff around and they're interrupted and they're embarrassed and the moment is over. Now finally Johnny and his father, they start talking because Johnny finds in one of the garages an old car and he starts fixing it up. And him and his father kind of bond a bit over this. And his father tells him and explains to him that yes, he really did love his mother. He was crazy about her and he used to go into where she sang. He used to go there every night to listen to her sing. And he admitted that his family got to him and made him give her up because he was weak. But he also told Johnny that he never received any of the letters that Johnny's mother sent him. And of course, he also said that he wrote letters to her, but as we can imagine, she never got those either. Now, Alistair, who is not giving up, he ain't doing it. He discovers a document that says that the marriage between Johnny's mother and the Duke William, that the marriage had been annulled. And Johnny came after that, so therefore he no longer has the right to the title of Duke. And Alistair, he couldn't get there quick enough to tell everybody. And poor Johnny, of course, he was disappointed, he's upset, and he's thinking, why did I even get my hopes up? I knew it wasn't going to work. I knew this wasn't going to happen. Why did I even bother myself? Now, of course, Prudence tries to cheer him up, but he's not having it. He's upset. He doesn't want to be cheered up. And she says to him, what about us? Now this is where I have to take a pause and say, woman, what about us? You danced with him once. There is no us. Nothing has happened. How can she even ask that question? They had one dance and she told him that her parents died. That was the amount of their relationship. So I thought it was a little bit weird that she asked him there, what about us? But, you never know. Let's carry on. Now it's time for the ball, and we've reached the ball, and here I have to say that Prudence looks lovely. The dress is very nice. She looks very attractive. And Johnny, he looks lovely in his suit and the white crisp shirt. He looks very, very handsome, extremely dashing, I have to say. Very, very nice. Now the Duke invited Johnny's mother to the ball, which I think was classy because it was the right thing to do. And there they find out that the signature on the document, on the certificate where the marriage was annulled, was forged. Can you believe that? And the chances are that they are probably still married. Now, Alistair don't want to hear that. Alistair does not want to hear that. He doesn't accept it at all. But we don't care, Alistair, you're out. Bye. But I have to say, Alistair is furious. Now at the ball, Johnny says, I want to dance with the prettiest girl in the ball. And he takes Prudence by her hand, he leads her and whisks her off onto the dance floor, and there they dance. It's the end of the ball, and they are in the garden, and it's here that they finally kiss. And I have to say that Andrew looks like he knows how to kiss, because usually in these Hallmark movies, they just pucker their lips and it's like, and they don't really do anything. But Andrew, you know, his mouth, there's a little bit of mouth opening and a little bit of movement there. So, you know, good for you, Andrew. And they kiss, they laugh, they hold hands, they run off into the night. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my in-depth review of The Reluctant Royal. Now, although we've walked step by step through this film, we can step back and we can see what this film can teach us in real life. I think at the end of the day, this film is about family, because Johnny wanted to meet his father and the father wanted to meet his son. I think that this film reminds us that family relationships sometimes can be difficult, and it might take forgiveness and openness to create a stronger bond. And I strongly believe that yes, we are born into a family, but we can also choose our own family, and that can be just as beautiful, just as strong a bond as anything else. Life can change from one minute to the next. We don't know what's in store for us. Look at Johnny. 1 minute he's a mechanic and the next minute he's a duke. We don't know what's around the corner. And we have to learn and we have to know how to embrace the opportunities that are given to us. And when we do that, when we embrace these opportunities, that can cause us to grow and to give us new beginnings. I know people that, depending on who they're with or what they're doing, they will morph into whatever the situation calls for. Now that can be a good thing, because of course there are certain circumstances where it's called upon that you act a certain way. There's a certain way you act when you go to church. You behave a certain way if you have to go to court. You behave a certain way when you go to work. And of course there's certain rules and regulations that you have to adhere to. But the thing is though, that despite all of that, the fundamental thing is that you remain yourself, that you be authentic. Look at Johnny. He didn't try to be anything that he wasn't. He didn't try to put on pomps and graces. He didn't need to. And you'll find that when you are your authentic self, people, if they are worth their salt, will love, appreciate, and respect you anyway. So always be yourself, no matter the circumstance. Now, the pros of this film is Andrew Walker. Like I said at the beginning, he's one of my favorite Hallmark leads. He has this little bad boy swagger about him that I like. And he has a way of lighting up the scene. The film is shot beautifully. I mean, the greenery, the castle, the view, the surroundings, everything is really on point. It's beautiful. It's just really nice to watch. The cons of this movie, I think Alistair was a bit much. I mean, he was just so obviously the villain. It was just very flat. He was just evil. There was no color. There was no nuance to him. He was just plain out evil. And it was just a little bit too much. I think the plot was rather obvious. But you know what though? Predictable in these kind of films, it's okay, because we want to see and we want to feel comfortable because we know what's going to happen. So that could maybe not be a con. And another con for me is that for me personally, I found that there was no chemistry between the two leads. So that for me was a big con. So is it worth picking up the remote control to turn on the TV to watch this movie? Is it worth it? You know what? I personally would say no, it wasn't worth it because one element was missing. And the one element that was missing was romance. And how can romance be missing in a romantic comedy? I found there was zero romance. There was no sexual tension. Their hands didn't nearly touch. There was a couple of looks here and there, but not enough to keep it going. If you're going to make a romantic movie, please give me romance. I mean, please, the minimum, right? But let me know in the comments down below. Do you think it's important that there has to be some romance in a romantic movie? And let me know also if you've seen this film and what do you think of it? Talk to me down below. Now, as we close, when I was thinking about this movie, an Italian phrase kept going over and over in my head. And that phrase was, La famiglia è tutto. La famiglia è tutto. And that means family is everything. And I absolutely agree with that. The family that we're born into and the family that we choose. So if you're still here, thank you so much for sticking with me. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I look forward to seeing you again soon. But until then, be kind to yourself, okay? Until the next time. Ciao.